طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله ده. All the white moon rose over us from the valley between hills of sand, and we owe it to show gratefulness when a call to God fills our land. Among us, coming with a word to be obeyed. You have brought to this city nobleness. Welcome you who call to the best way.
Well, welcome, a huge welcome and bienvenue to all of you who've gathered today for Abraham Jam, an Interfaith encounter. I'm really thrilled to see so many of you who've joined online to be part of this event. My name is the Reverend Ali Hummel, and I'm the chaplain and coordinator at the Concordia Multi-Faith and Spirituality Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And I want to welcome each and every one of you, no matter where you are, if you're a student at Concordia or a former student or someone who heard about this through the media channels, however you're connected, wherever you joined here, you're so welcome, and I'm glad you're here. As we begin, I want to acknowledge that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands. We recognize the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation as the custodians of the lands and waters on which Concordia University is located and where many of us gather today. Tiohtià:ke, commonly known as Montreal, is historically known as a gathering place for many First Nations. Today, it is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. And we respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community and the larger communities. I know or imagine many of you are not in Chachagi, but in other places. And so if you know the land where you're located, I invite you to write that into the chat, and we may be able to see where we're from, and maybe learn from one another. And it's not just about the learning of the land, but it really is about relationships. And today it's about interfaith relationships through music. And some of you might ask, how did this come to be? How did this come to be that the Abraham Jam Band is connecting with the Concordia Multi-Faith and Spirituality Center? It all began 2 years ago at the Parliament of the World's Religions. I was gathering in Toronto. I had the privilege of attending with some students and some colleagues, and the band was there as well. And I kept stopping. They were in many hallways. They always showed up where I was, it seemed. And I kept stopping, and I was just moved by the music, and it touched me because so much of what I had heard was all words and so on. And so the music really touched me. And I realized that many others were touched too. And so I wanted to bring the band to Concordia. And so when an opportunity arose, it all came together, and I'm grateful. So thank you so much for coming. I see you from many different places: North Carolina, Tennessee, England, Ontario. Amazing. So here we are with the band, and it's an opportunity for us to reflect and learn about our interfaith encounters, and to reflect how we can deepen those relationships. I'm also aware that the band is representing a very particular part of interfaith relations, namely of Muslim, Jews, and Christian. But we want to broaden the conversation today, and we have two students with us who will join us later in their reflections, who bring a different perspective. And so I'm super excited, and I need to stop talking, and I want to bring on the band. So I now invite Dawood Warnsby, David Lamotte, and Billy Jonas to join me on the screen.
Greetings of peace.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves.
Well, can you hear me okay?
We can indeed. Good to hear you, buddy.
I'm Billy Jonas. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. I am Jewish, and I am grateful to be here.
My name is Dawood Warnsby, and I am in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, just down the road from you up there in Concordia University. And I am of the Muslim tradition, rooted in Universalist, Unitarian practice as well. And very happy to be here today.
Hey, friends, it's really good to be with you. Always to see you, my brothers. And Ellie, what a treat to be with y'all virtually at Concordia in Quebec. I am David Lamotte from Black Mountain, North Carolina. I am what's called a Quakertarian, with a foot in a Quaker tradition and a foot in a Presbyterian tradition. It's good to be with you.
Wonderful. Welcome. So I'd love to hear some of your reflections about your work. So before we go to the film, which is, we're going to watch a documentary on your work together, just tell us how the band came to be and why are you doing this?
Great. Well, there's a lot of beautiful history with the band. Actually, we're just coming up on our 10-year anniversary of our very first Abraham Jam concert next month. So it's really, really poignant, actually, to be gathering right now. And while I'm acknowledging anniversary dates, I also want to speak a very painful one, because we couldn't have this conversation and not acknowledge that 3 years ago today was the massacre at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it's a very painful moment on the calendar as well. And I'm grateful to have something to do to build a better way in response to that kind of destruction. So many years ago, some really rough things were happening along those lines in North Carolina, some anti-Islamic things, some anti-Semitic things. There was a particular spike in anti-Islamic kind of actions at that time, about 11 years ago in North Carolina. And I was working with the North Carolina Council of Churches at the time, And we were trying to think, how do we respond to this? How do we stand in solidarity with folks who are being persecuted because of religion? And together, in conversation with lots of folks, we came up with the idea of doing this concert. But what we wanted to do was make this really owned by students. We felt like if we want to shift the conversation, we need music. And if we need students, and if you want students, you need music. So we put together this concert, but we didn't want to do it like it's so often done, where it's sort of a smorgasbord where people take turns. We thought, what if we're all on stage together the whole time, supporting each other and singing in harmony, and not just taking turns? And out of that was born the first Abraham Jam concert.
Wow. That's lovely, because that's what we try to do at the MFSC as well, to respond to those moments. And unfortunately, we still have many of them. But
yeah,
Dawood, I interrupted you, so please.
No, not at all. It's a beautiful segue, because when I look, for example, at the Muslim and Sufi tradition, the idea of sound is very sacred. This understanding that when creation began with this big bang that we all know of, there was a separation of everything into this orbit, and with that creation, with that big bang, starts motion, and with motion comes resonance and vibration. And that's why in the Sufi and Muslim tradition, the idea of sound is very sacred. How sound is used, how sound heals, and has the potential to damage. And so for David and Billy and I, as in our respective musical traditions, one commonality that we have is this great respect for engagement, using music and song and sound not just as entertainment, which diverts the mind, but engagement that enlivens the mind and awakens the mind. And so for all of us in our respective musical careers, we've always really focused on trying to engage those who gather with us, not to just be an audience with us as a performer, but to be working together to layer all that we are into vibration and into a synergy that really affects the heart. And that's kind of where I think when you look at us then coming together as Abraham Jam, as David mentioned, the idea of layering and celebrating the diversity through the harmony, that we don't all need to be singing the same note. What we do need to do is know our note, sing it strongly and proudly, and harmonize with those around us.
Amen. I wanted to add that we know that the people we're speaking to here are a select group, a self-selected group mostly, who've chosen to be here. And just by making that choice, you have demonstrated an openness. And there is so much work to be done in the world. We hope that our music is doing this work of reaching out to those who maybe don't feel that openness and showing them a little window of possibility into a brighter way forward. That said, we're acknowledging, we're preaching to the choir here, and that has its place. But you all out there are the choir. You're the ones, the choir, and what I mean by that metaphor, some may not be familiar. We're talking to folks that are already on our team, so to speak. You're already in support of this harmonizing, of this bringing in different lenses of, though we're not all singing the same notes, we're not all in unison, we are in harmony, which yields so much more. Well, you're all on that page already. And we're just taking a moment here to say, we know there's work to be done beyond this circle, we know. Yeah. And we firmly believe, and we hope that you'll agree with us, but if you don't, it's fine. We firmly believe this has its place. We need to rally our strength and our communal support for each other, those of us who are on this page already, so that when we encounter those who are not, we can do it with love. We can do it without a reactionary adversarial thing, which comes up in me all the time. Like, what do you mean? You know, that kind of, that like thing that just ends up bouncing. We're not interested in bouncing off other folks. So let's celebrate that we're all preaching to the choir today, knowing that that has its place in this dialogue, in this discourse.
And acknowledging with that, if I may add as well, that we are all very much aware, Billy David and I, that we are all middle-aged, white, privileged men. There's a lot of ripples that need to move out. And I think our hope, we came together organically, but we're just trying to kindle sparks. We're just trying to kindle this energy to throw out, with the hope that the diversity the ripples will spread farther than what we've been able to bring together, just by nature of the limitations we have, being who we are.
Mm-hmm. I always think there's some people, when we talk about the choir, there may be some people who want to join the choir, but they're not sure how well they can sing. And so maybe they're kind of hangers on, and maybe by us singing louder, they sort of are willing to try joining us. And so it is about that ripple effect, and also about modeling that working together is possible, that it's not about unity, but about harmony. I really like that. Mm-hmm. And that we're also aware that we're steeped in a world that's complex and that is full of conflict. And I know you have done a lot of reflection on peacemaking and conflict. And I'm wondering if you can just say another word about that as well.
I actually paused my music career about 18 years into it to go spend a couple of years doing a master's degree in peace studies, and it's a conversation that's close to my heart, and it mm-hmm. is not a conversation that benefits by being watered down, right? I mean, I think we need to really be conscious of the fact that peacemaking is not conflict avoidance. The work of peacemaking is about approaching conflict in ways that are constructive rather than destructive. But the verb in that sentence is approaching, right? Making nice is not making peace. That said, we also need, the choir needs to be inspired, right? We need to take joy and comfort in each other's company. That nourishes us for the hard conversations. I firmly believe that relationship always predates transformation, right? We very seldom reject each other into making more compassionate decisions. So first, you know how to love each other, and then you can do the work of transformation.
Wow. Thank you. That's really, really thoughtful and reflective, and an inspiration to me in my work, and I think to those with whom I work, I hope. Because we're in this together, and it is about relationships. So thank you for that reminder.
Thanks, Ellie.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, kind of fun that we get to show this movie.
Yeah, as we head into this film, and really just to add something on to, perhaps if I may, of what David said, sure. That idea of the love leading to the transformation. That's with the understanding, of course, that neither of us has the right or the power or the responsibility to transform each other. It's the love that we express to each other that provides that safety and that stability and that security in each of our lives to enable us to find that transformation and aim toward that transformation. Yeah, anyway, enough said on that. This film, it was our opportunity. We were so honored to have the opportunity to be involved with this film, to show how we've transformed and how our joining together as three brothers from three different, spiritual traditional paths are transformed every time we're in each other's company, how each other's faiths have helped us grow and transform, and how that love and that sense of stability and security really enables us to make changes in our own life and hopefully then bring change to the world. So the film was filmed over the course of a year, and the filmmakers did such a wonderful job in terms of the quality of it. We were so pleased with it. So naturally, when you watch the film here, we're limited a little bit by crowdcast and the quality, but hopefully you'll still glean from it the spirit of what we have found by playing and singing together.
I think we're ready. I think we should press go, play, and begin.
Right on.
All three of those buttons. Yeah. And I believe we said this before, but just to remind you, afterwards, please remain. We're going to do Q and R. That's question and response, because we don't necessarily have the answers. So, and we have some. Ellie, will you tell us who's going to come on with us afterwards, or is this the place to say that?
That sounds great. Yes. So we'll watch the movie. It's about 18 minutes long, I believe. So it'll show up right on your screen. And then we'll bring on two students. Megaksh Brabat is one of our students who works actually at the Multi-Faith and Spirituality Center. He'll introduce himself a bit more. And Brigitte Ernstberger is one of our student leaders, and she's the president of the Pagan Club. So those two will come on and share their reflections and broaden the perspective. And then we're open to Q&A and reflections from everyone. Thanks, Billy.
All right.
And thanks.
Let's watch.
This is my song, oh God.
Look, it's easy to point out what's wrong with the world. Anybody can do that. What's harder is to create what's right.
Maybe we don't need to agree to love each other and make something beautiful together.
Different lives teach different lessons, and that diversity of perspective can be a gift.
And that's what we're trying to do with this band. In order to sing in harmony, we have to sing different notes.
We have to sing different notes.
My dreams, my holy shrine.
Probably almost 10 years ago now, or more, David Lamont called me up. He was working on a project trying to pull together an interfaith concert. And I said I would love to come, but it would be really a lot better if we actually worked together, if we created music together. And so that's sort of the first time that we came together for an Abraham Jam.
We haven't worked
Awesome.
it out yet.
Right on. That sounds beautiful.
There's 3 lines.
Let's just do that first.
Try my third. I don't know what it is yet. This is my song.
This is my home, the country where my heart is.
One more.
This is my home.
So I was doing some work in 2011 with the Council of Churches, the North Carolina Council of Churches, and there were some incidents of anti-Islamic and anti-Semitic violence. And we were trying to figure out how to stand in solidarity and respond to that. We wanted to reach students, and if you want to reach students, you do that with music.
My name is Billy Jonas, and how I identify, and first and foremost identify myself, is as a human. Beyond any affiliation, tribal or familial or religious, is as a human. And I've actually gotten in some contentious arguments with people who feel like you can't escape the lenses through which you have looked since birth, and that may be true. And I choose to identify primarily as a human. And after that, I am a musician, and I like to think I'm an ambassador of the spirit, to invite people into the realm of being in touch with something bigger than themselves.
So we put this band together by asking the students, who do you want to have come play? And this is what happened. We got to Abraham Jam. And the exciting idea about Abraham Jam, that very first show, right from the beginning, was that we weren't going to take turns playing songs. We were going to back each other up. We were going to be on stage together.
You don't need no ticket, you just thank the
It
Lord.
was a no-brainer. It was just like, David told me about this project, and I went, I meant to think of that. You thought of it first. Great. I want to come play. Can I come over and play? And it was just, I didn't even have to think about it. It was so obvious. Like, right.
This is my song.
And I work at my temple as a cantorial soloist along with several other musicians, and I have done some teaching there as well and continue to do that. And so my job in that community, that Jewish community, is, I believe, again, to stay as true as I can to who I am and who I believe I am, and continually polish the lens of my Judaism to be as inclusive as I can.
Let's do all that again. Right up.
we're excited to be playing at the Lake Eaton Arts Festival. It's Abraham Jam's first gig at Leaf. I've played Leaf many times before. I played the very first Leaf ever, actually. But it's fun to have the band here. It's a beautiful venue.
It's also a little exciting to be thinking about playing some of the new material that we've been working on the stage, which has us a little nervous because it's so fresh. It's still evolving,
Right.
But it's going to be fun to try it here for the first time and see how that feels with people.
Build dreams of chase behind their shadows in your mind.
This project is all about saying, hey,
You can choose to
we have three very different communities that we come from. We have found commonality. We've maintained the integrity of each of our lenses, and we found a way to overlap them in a beautiful way and to model it so that others will be inspired.
So, it's not naive to think you can change the world. It's naive to think you could be in the world and not change it. And this is the change I want to make right now. I want to sing a better story. I want to show people that it's possible to create beauty without all having to be the same.
We've all got pain, we've all got challenges, we've all got some damage we're overcoming. And to recognize that commonality and let that be the core from which we empathize with each other and move forward.
drink the notes like drops of wine. Warming spirit, slowing time. Winding like an arbor vine. Drink the notes like drops of wine.
When sky full of gloomy and doom, doom, thunder over under going boom, boom. See the frightening lightning zoom, zoom. The grassroots keep it all together. Well, there's a path up the mountain so wide, wide, up to the summit to abide by. Get a grip when you slip and slide, slide. The grassroots keep it all together.
Oh, can you hear the rhythm of all creation? The rhythm of the clapping of the thunder and the rain. You see the rhythm of all creation, the lightning and the beams and the seasons as they change. Drink deeply when the wine is poured. Deeply when the wine is poured. Pass around the drinking gourd. Pass around the drinking gourd. May your spirit be restored. May your spirit be restored. Drink deeply when the wine is poured. Play that man.
It is an incredible thing to have everybody point all that energy at you and have to... the trick is to not catch it, to let it flow through you or to reflect it back. The idea is to be a lens and let the light come through and focus it. I'm thinking of David playing shadows today, and when Billy and I began with the braided prayer that we do, we kind of just go into another. It's not a performance. Takes us out of performance mode, and I think it puts us into another frame of mind. And then to open our eyes from that and hear David play, that whole moment of braided prayer and shadows, I felt the most. And I think I'm doing this with my hand because I felt that with the audience and with us and David in the middle playing guitar. It seemed to be there was something happening that was beautiful. We were no longer in a performance mode. I think as an audience and performers, we were in an experiential mode, which was really beautiful. Since Dawood lives in Canada, we try to pack everything in when he's here, and so we have studio dates lined up this week to try to finish the album. We are really getting close, and just in the last few weeks, I think we all agree that the album has kind of found its center, and it's become cohesive in this really interesting way. It's fascinating, we are three really different people in a lot of ways, and I think we are. It's authentic, the thing that we talk about in terms of singing different notes that are in harmony, as opposed to trying to sing the same note. That really is a solid metaphor for who we are, because we come at the world in really different ways. There's a famous Muslim poet, Alam Iqbal,
from Pakistan, and he wrote, and a dear friend of mine introduced me to this verse and quoted it often, and it stuck in my mind, that he says that the role of the poet is to be like a mirror to the society, and when the society looks in that mirror, they become like a tornado in a bird cage. You know, we don't always like what we see when we look in the mirror, but if the poet can be that reflection to a community, and it can spin that energy up within them, that positive energy, or that self kind of realization that, ooh, we need to change our ways, then I think that is where Abraham Jam has the potential to help.
Here it is. This is the big album release party for the new album, White Moon. We've been working on it for like, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, something like that. It's been a huge production, and they came in a few days ago. We have the CDs, so now we just have to have an awesome show.
I wouldn't call it anxiety, but it's got me amped up and a little nervous.
You know, last I heard, the place is not very close to sold out, so I don't know who's going to come. I hope the people show up, and I hope they love it. We've been working really hard to give them a good show, so we'll see what happens.
I really want people to be inspired. You know, beyond the idea of what we do, I really want it to just purely be a beautiful experience for folks, because I think that's such a medicine and so necessary.
Billy's the type of fellow who is, he always talks about the word Israel, meaning, you know, to wrestle with God, and that's so beautiful, and I'd never really known that about what that word meant in that way, and it's helped me a lot in my spiritual journey to see someone like Billy who recognizes the act of wrestling constantly with ourselves and our own egos and our own demons and frustrations, and wrestling with society and society's expectations of what should be normal or what should be right or wrong, or, you know, struggling and wrestling with our own faith communities and what they tell us is the path to righteousness.
Did you put more love in the world today?
It's like, oh my God, look, you put love in the world that way. Now I'm going to find a way to do it. And you know, with kids, I ask them, how do you put more love in the world? And they'll say hugs and smiles, and sooner or later one will say singing. I go, that's how I like to do it. Not only singing, but getting people to sing along and to be in the music together. Love that.
All right, so we worked really hard, and you do that so you don't screw up. But then this is the part that where, like, if we screw up, it's okay, because our job here is to shine light.
That's right.
And to spread joy and to be authentic and real with people.
Amen.
And invite them into the bigger circle. So when you asked me about the magic in this project, let's pray. When Dawood and Billy started singing sacred text together and singing against each other, and it just wove perfectly and naturally, and musically it was exquisite, and theologically it worked, and just the pacing of it, and all my little hairs stood up on both of my arms and both of my legs, and you can't fake that. It's one of the things you should pay attention when you get goosebumps on your goosebumps. That's real.
Hallelujah, praise God and Shema, God and Shema, God and Shema, say hallelujah. Praise with a timbrel, praise with a dance, praise with your senses, every chance, praise with your fingers, praise with your feet, praise with your heart, every single beat. Every ripple along the ocean, every leaf on every tree, every sand dune in the desert, every power we never see. I'd say there is a deeper wave than this swelling in the world. There is a deeper wave than this. Listen to me, girl. On my की सूरत हो खुदाया मेरी. And there'll be no barricades then, no wires and no walls. We'll wash this blood from our hands, all this hatred from our souls. And I believe that on that day, the children of Abraham will lay down their souls forever in Jerusalem.
Music is a commonality that all of humanity shares in one form or another. And so events like this just give people the opportunity to come together regardless of a belief or lack of belief, and just enjoy that peaceful moment.
Well, especially in times like now when the country is increasingly divisive in the whole world. It seems like a lot of other countries are following that trend right now of separating the people when really the people should be coming together and supporting one another and supporting one another's rights.
My friends, we have much work to do. We'll love our cause and our reward. Drink deeply when the wine is poured.
Yeah, I think success in this project is opening people's hearts and encouraging people who are discouraged in the work. These are discouraging times to be trying to make the world a better place. There's a lot that is discouraging, and that's real. But I firmly believe that hope, real hope, thick hope, is not predicated on denying that things are hard. It's about seeing the possibility to do better. And I think we can do better.
May your spirit be restored. May your spirit be restored. Drink deeply when the wine is poured.
Thank you all so much. It's been such a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Y'all come on out here. Thank you. Blessings. River Gregarian, the tall man, Chris Rossi. Good to be with y'all.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this amazing documentary and your story, and your feelings, your souls with us. I've watched it before, and I've seen you live. I've had the privilege. And what always moves me the most is that you don't just sing songs in serial. You know, you take a Jewish song and then a Christian and then a Muslim song, but you weave them together. And by doing so, you model a conversation with each other, and with those who listen and with those who you engage with. And to me, that's really the gift that you offer. And it's an inspiration to me and what I want to accomplish in my life, in my ministry, in my work, which is to really engage with one another about the big questions of life in a creative way. So in your case, music, and I have to admit, I respond to that. That resonates with me because I love music and I'm a hobby musician. But there's other ways. And so I hope it inspires some of you maybe to use arts or theater to do that same thing, to have those conversations and offer one another the gift of connecting with one another on a deep level, on a soul level, I would say. So thank you for the video. And I want to broaden the conversation, as I said before, and I want to invite two students up on the screen with me. I'll invite Brigitte Ernstberger and Megaksh Brambat. And Megaksh, I call him Meg, because it's easier for me to say Megaksh. I'm sorry about that, but please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Megaksh Brambat, and I'm a computer science graduate student at Concordia. And basically I come from India, which is a very diverse country, and I come from a faith uh, of Hindu. Like I grew up in a Hindu family, so the whole idea of Abraham Jam is just amazing. Like uh, when we see humans, we are just a small tiny dots in this universe, and Abraham Jam is something. They are having a language of music and a language of faith to connect those groups. So that's the one thing that really touched me. And yeah, I mean, I really congratulate for their work and their 10th year anniversary. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Meg.
Yeah.
And Brigitte, tell us tell us who you are and tell us your response to the video.
Hi, so my name is Brigitte, and I am a student at Concordia. I am the president of the Pagan Society, a student leader at Multi-Faith, and yeah, I'm a first-year student, and I found the documentary very, very interesting and inspiring. And being a singer-songwriter myself, it 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 a lot of it was very similar to how I also do things when I'm writing music. I do it not just to entertain people, but it's most importantly to create a sense of community and a sense of like connecting with others as well, like through music. If I can change like one life in a whole crowd, then I've done my job. So one thing that was really interesting at the very, very beginning of the documentary that touched me a lot was different lives you learn different lessons. So if we can all like learn from each other based on our experiences and our own upbringing and backgrounds, and just knowing that everyone's lives are different, it does increase our empathy towards people. And me being in the pagan society, we do have to do that in order to accept everybody in our community, because paganism is an umbrella term. So we have a bunch of religions that come in. So when we're doing our own rituals and stuff, we give each person a turn to say something to add to it in order so that their own religion can be presented, and so that we're all a community and everyone belongs. And the way that the band has like different harmonies working together is very beautiful, because it creates a whole different other music style, music genre, and you just see people just coming together to make music, do things that they love, and to connect with others.
Yeah, thanks, Brigitte. Meg, I'm curious in Hinduism if you can say a bit about the role of either music or sound. Does it play a role?
Yeah, so in Hinduism, we believe that music or the idea of sound, it just increases the devotion towards whatever we are worshiping. So that is something like it's internal part of Hinduism. We start our day with chanting. We end up our day with chanting. There are kirtans, there are bhajans, and yeah, I mean, and one more thing, like Rashita said, that we are different, but our destination is same. We all want to connect with something or someone that has created us. So when our like destination is same, why don't we collaborate like this, the way Abraham Jam has done, and help each other, or understand each other better, because the idea of acceptance is something it's required in this world. Like, accept the people and just collaborate with them. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, we all desire it. I think you're right. We all want to be accepted. We all want to belong, and yet it's actually to actually do it is not always as easy as it sounds. And so I think that's when we actually reflect on that, when we find opportunities to do that through music. Often I think it happens through conversation, and I think the thing I so much enjoy by this is that it's done in creative ways, because music touches not just our mind, it touches our heart, our soul. I don't know about you, but when I watch it, I kept tapping my foot and sort of try to hum along a few times. Good thing you didn't hear that. But it touches all of who we are. And I think there's different possibilities when we use things like music or art or even movement, when we're even out together in a different space, that encourage that engagement that we all long for, and yet so often find obstacles towards. So those are great reflections. So I'd like to actually open it to everyone. So we have the chat. I'd love to hear your questions. And the band is coming back, and then we will have a bit of a conversation amongst us here on the screen with you through the chat function. So please welcome back, Dawood, and we can either just pick up from the conversation that the students and I were engaged in, or I'd love to hear questions in the chat.
I'd love to pick up on a quick note, just that Brigitte and Meg, thank you so much for what you shared, and I hope Billy and David agree with me on this. It's very touching to hear that. And one of the things that jumped to my mind is, we won't get into it today, of course, but David and Billy and I mean, we're three old men, but we've been at this for 30 years, and we're here now because of the journey that we took to get here. To give us the bravery and the strength of our own selves and our own faith to be able to do this. But I know for a fact that in our lives, the approach to trying to connect with the earth and perhaps what you and some of your colleagues with the Pagan Student Association experience, and the connectivity to the seasons and the earth and the phases of the moon and all of those things, they entered into our journeys. If it wasn't for my reading of the Gita and the Upanishads and the Vedas, I wouldn't be in Abraham Jam, right? Because it brought me on that path. And because I think, as you said, Meg, we're on the same destiny, and we're aiming toward that same destiny. And I just wanted to acknowledge and honor your paths right now, because we are honored by your paths as well. And it's brought us to where we are as Abraham. So thank you.
Yeah.
So if I can jump in with a mundane note, I'm sorry, some folks obviously from the chat have had some tech issues here and there. I think the whole program has run fairly smoothly in the source. So what that means is that it will be pretty easy to reload it and watch it again at this same link, the same link that you went to join us today. You can come back later and watch the whole thing again if you'd like, or scroll through it as you like. So just a quick mundanity note there.
Thanks,
and
David.
if folks do have questions, feel free, or comments or whatever you want to throw in. We've got our eyes on the chat now, so we can join you in some conversation there. If you have any questions to ask, feel free, or you can use the Ask a Question button right below the screen. That makes it super clear for us if you're on a laptop. If you're on a phone, I think that works a little differently. I'm not sure, but you can also just throw it right in the chat if you like. Thanks.
But I'll pick up another topic that has sort of come out in the conversation in several different ways, and that is that notion that we can each be authentic to ourselves and engage. Because I think I hear that comment a lot, or that question, that if I'm engaged in interfaith, can I remain true to my own faith? So I'm also Christian, and also I'm I think I share that with you, David, and so people often say, but are we watering this down, or are you going to convert? Sort of tongue in cheek. and I think the depth of the interfaith experience I've had has only made me stronger in my own faith and allowed me to live with more authenticity. And that's what I've heard throughout. And I think it takes a bit of a risk to try that out, because I perceive a bit of fear to engage in interfaith, because what if I'm swayed by something else, or what if I can't truly believe what I want to believe. I guess I would say if I'm swayed, if I'm truly called to convert, then that's my path. That's great. But my experience is really, it allows me to, through that lens, through that mirror that some of you talked about, to really look more deeply at who I am and what I believe and how I bring that faith into this diverse world. So that's, and I really want to, that's part of the message I want to preach, if you will, and get out there, that let's be true to ourselves and to each other and be in community, because that is more than possible. That's necessary.
Yeah, and that idea of the watering down, for me, I look upon it more as we're making stew. We're thickening it up. We're adding more to the pot. When we contribute who we truly are to our communities, and our strengths, knowing our weaknesses, knowing our strengths, and unabashedly bringing that forward, we're adding more to the stew, that we thicken our community. We make it more robust. We make it more flavorful. We make it more nourishing for us all, inshallah.
I guess if people think that only stew with veggies is good, only carrot stew is the right one, then, I don't want to use that image too much. But I think that's sort of I love the stew with all of the different flavors, and like to try a veggie or something that's in there that I've never had and go like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more. Where does it grow? But I think that's our mission, to really show the beauty of that big, big stew. And we can still identify the individual different pieces.
I've heard it said that the opposite of faith is not doubt. The opposite of faith is certainty. Mm. And I think if our faith isn't strong enough to withstand some examination and some deep questioning, then it's not as deep as it could be. Mm. And my faith has deepened on my particular path through my deep relationship with my brothers. And we gather and pray together, and we gather and catch up, and we gather and walk with each other through some really hard things that come up because we're human beings living life. And my goodness, I've been moved and inspired by each of their faiths. Billy's erudition about his own faith is just overwhelming. He has such a deep bench of knowledge, and it makes me feel a little bit ignorant, and that inspires me to study. That's a good thing for my faith. Touring with Dawood and watching him pray 5 times a day, step away from the rehearsal for a few minutes because this is a priority that I want to hold on to. That's inspiring. That has deepened my faith. So at the heart of my faith is an acknowledgement of mystery. I don't believe this because I understand it and I've got all the boxes checked and all the questions answered. I'm following this path because I want to stand closer to this thing that is powerful and that I don't understand. And therefore, how arrogant would I have to be to say, no, you're doing it wrong? Like, if it's a fundamental Quaker belief that the light of God shines in every heart. And you have the same access that I have to the infinite and eternal. And so how could I stand here and say, no, I've got it right? Billy, you have that lovely phrase about lenses that I wonder if you would throw in that. Oh, your audio. Need to get you going. Oh. There you go. Thanks.
Hello, world. I say many things about lenses, but I think what you mean is that your faith becomes your lens. Your faith becomes the matrix through which you understand and process the world. How does you'll see something and you'll say, well, how does that support this belief? Or how does that challenge my beliefs? And how do I then reconcile that? So it's this lens that you're constantly focusing and polishing. We're all trying to polish the lens. And my lens gets way much clearer when I can understand someone else's faith and understand their way through the world and try to integrate it, or try to maybe bump up against it, or just figure out how what I'm doing responds to what they're doing. So it's, in some ways it's polishing my own lens. In some ways it's allowing my lens to be overlaid with someone else's lens. Have you ever put two pairs of glasses in front of each other, and then you see what happens to the world? And sometimes you get the right combination and everything comes into focus, right? As in a telescope, you can zoom way out. If you turn the telescope around, you can zoom way in. And that's the interplay of more than one lens. So you have your lens and then another lens, and then you get to come back to your regular way of looking, which is just through your lens. But your lens is now different. It's been shaped by that interaction and by the things you learned. So that's what I would say. And I wanted to speak to what Dawood and David were saying by pointing out two different kinds of religion, not two different religions, two different kinds of religion. There's religion, what I call with a large R, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, paganism, Hinduism, Jainism. Then there's religion with a small r. And small r, to me, is the collection of behaviors and dictates and strictures that you have taken onto yourself to keep yourself focused, to keep yourself growing forward in love, to keep your heart blossoming. We do all kinds of religious things every day. We religiously brush our teeth, and we wouldn't necessarily call them spiritual activities, but they become those when we make them into our meditation, into our daily way of connecting with ourself, with our community, and the great beyond, by taking care of ourselves. These are all the different things of a small r religion. So I like to think that my collection of ideas about who I am and how I want to stay on the right track, the straight path, and how I want to help my heart grow is so enhanced by all the things I've learned from David and Dawood and all the other folks I interact with. So basically, I'm saying what they said already. I'm just adding another way of looking at it. And we've talked a little about this being a conversation. That we're in conversation now, but we're also in conversation with ourselves after we encounter someone else's faith. And we're in conversation with God at all times. We're dancing with God. That's the meaning of the word Israel, as Dawood echoed earlier, is to dance or to wrestle or to tussle with what is. And so this is a process of refining that dance, constantly refining our conversation, our discourse. The discourse is a confluence of many, many conversations. And that's what we're doing now. This is another participatory event in what I call the great conversation, the discourse across time and space between all the religions and between reality itself and your small r religion, all the different things that you collect to help yourself grow in love.
I'll tack on one last tiny thought that just to integrate one more stream of faith and practice. I love the Buddhist expression, the finger is not the moon. That the finger points to the moon. The moon could be thought of as the divine, and the finger as religion, right? But we shouldn't get confused. That what I love about what's, I think, insinuated in Billy's lens metaphor there is that, our faiths are these lenses that we're looking through, but they're not the light. And I believe that we're all looking at the same light. We're looking through different lenses. And my exposure to my brothers here and my deep friendship with them has helped to polish my lens. I'm grateful for that.
And to to carry on with that metaphor as well, people often wonder why the symbol of the Muslim tradition is the crescent moon. What's up with that crescent moon? And the whole symbol of that is this idea that it's a light in the darkness that casts no light. It only reflects the light of something more divine that is unseeable. You know, that if you looked into the sun, you would go blind. If you saw the divine, we would go blind. And, you know, so it's your metaphor as well that you often give, David, and talk about that the tree spends its whole life growing toward the sun, but if it touched the sun, it would be incinerated. So it's only our job to grow to that light, and by even seeing reflections of it is enough to guide us in the darkness. So.
The other thing I love about this conversation is that there's lots of room for people for whom traditional religion is not meaningful. People who consider themselves spiritual but not religious, or agnostic or atheist, or for whom language of spirituality is just not helpful, but who have that same desire to connect, who have profound experiences. They stand somewhere like, wow, that was amazing, or they hear a song and they move, but they would not necessarily talk about the divine or spirituality, and yet we share that. And what excites me is that all of us, religious, non-religious, people for whom those words are meaningful, for people for whom this holds deep meaning, we're all in that conversation together. And so that's just another lens, and I'm learning lots from the spiritual, not religious, and that group of folks who you know, because we often talk about making the world a better place rather than what we believe. It's not about dogma, but it's about acting together and working together and figuring out a way to live in that complex world. And there was actually a great question, if I may use this as a segue. Ginger Meek Allen, thanks for your question, says, seems to me that interreligious respect and communication are love generators. Can you speak to the power of love to drive out hate? Will we ever live in a world without hate? I'd like to. I would too. So I'm wondering if you can respond to that.
If I could have a brief go at that. I have a sticker on one of my guitar cases that says, "Peace is possible." And that's a phrase that I resonated with very much at a certain point in my life. And lately, I resonate less, frankly, because in that construct, it sounds like peace is this static state where you're done with conflict. I don't think that's possible, not as long as there are people around. I don't think that's possible. But what I want to do is take my Sharpie, I've always got one handy, and write on that sticker the word "more" right at the top, right at the beginning. So it says more peace is possible. Because I don't think the question is, can we fix it? Can we live in a world at peace? I think the question is, can we do any better than we're doing right now? And I think we can. I have a friend who runs an organization called Mediators Beyond Borders, and their theme, when they gather to evaluate work they've done as conflict mediators, their question for themselves, their guiding question is, did that go 10% better than it would have gone if we weren't there? And I find that so useful, right? So I don't know that we will ever live in a world without hate, and I do believe that the work of love is ongoing. And it's tedious. It's slow and undramatic work most of the time. But I think that's how we get it. We get closer. That's how we grow. As Dawood mentioned, the tree spends its whole life reaching for the sun, and it has to do that to be a healthy tree. And you don't look at a tree and think, what a failure. Gosh, it's not even getting close. Right? A tree has to be reaching in order to grow. And I think that's all of us. Like, let's reach for love and reach for peace in practical and tangible ways that move things to a better place. We're never going to fix it, but that's not the point.
So
if I may just interrupt, Brigitte, you need to leave. So thank you so much, and have a good class. Thanks for being here.
Brigitte, such a pleasure for us. Thank you.
Privilege.
Good to know you.
Thank you.
We can't wait to hear your music.
Bye.
Thank you.
I was going to just elevate something about what David just said, and I think that's really important. He said sometimes the solution to what seems an unsolvable problem is to just ask a different question, or ask what might be a more skillful question. I don't want to call it a better question, though that's the term we might usually use. A more skillful question is just how do you know, so that's just to say it's always an opportunity when you bump up against a wall, like, can we ever get rid of hate? Well, let's ask a different question. What do we do with the fact that there is hate in the world? Or David, I'm not even sure how you'd reframe it, but there are many different ways to reframe it that might lead to something, just like you said. Did that go 10% better than if we hadn't been there? I love that. I'm taking notes.
And when we look then, sorry, Ellie.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that when we bring those concepts that David has spoken of and that Billy has spoken of back to what you were saying, Ellie, about the music, and trying to keep it from being didactic and dogmatic, and that we are inspired by various different musical traditions. We're inspired, Billy, David, and I, by our faith traditions. But what we try to share with an audience and those who gather with us are not those things that are sacred to us in our own lives, but the lessons we've learned and the questions that we've learned from those experiences. So when we look at what David has said or what Billy has just said, songs like "Did You Put More Love in the World Today," that Billy wrote, it's not out to try to present history of the Jewish tradition, or it's out to ask that question, that hard question, not why is there so much hate in the world? How can we get rid of the hate in the world? It asks the question, did you put more love in the world? And then it makes you think, well, did I? What is love? And how did I love today? Or a song like Grassroots, which is about seeds and grass and the metaphor of who we all are. Where did we come from? Where are we blowing? And where are we going? And how are we growing? These are the questions that come up in our songs. The songs like David's called Shadows, which is without lyrics. It's just sound to ask us to get over the words that we use that divide us so drastically, and just try to feel for a moment and see where those feelings take us, the bravery in that. So through our music, we definitely want to roll out the carpet to those who gather with us and say, come as you are. As the Sufi poet Ibn Arabi used to say, this is a caravan of love. Whatever path you're on, come as you are on this caravan of love. Or was that Cool in the Gang?
Celebrate good times. Come on.
So maybe this is a great segue when you start to sing to because I heard rumors that you can actually do one song on air live. So I'm hoping we can still get that. And I want to thank everyone for that rich discussion, for the questions. And as we prepare to close in a few minutes after the song, I'd love for people to add a word in the chat, just a word or two about what you take from there, what inspired you, what you questions, what you take with you. And but I think I know it's a challenge to sing together virtually, but I think you've managed. So over to you.
Because of the lag, just to explain the issue to folks who may not understand it, because of the lag in digital communication across half a continent here, with actually Dawood up in Kitchener, Ontario, and Billy and I in North Carolina, but still 20 miles away from each other, it's impossible to sing anything with rhythm. Can't be done, because the rhythm gets off and it becomes a train wreck. So we have one piece that we do that is actually arrhythmic, that doesn't have exactly a beat. And we're limited by the quality of Zoom and, Crowdcast and all the things. But sometimes we find that the spirit of this song can shine through even across the miles and the digital challenges. So this is a song that we do together. Billy, tell us a little bit about your part of this braided prayer.
I'm going to do a Jewish prayer called the Shema, S-H'-M-A, Shema. Maybe we can put it in the chat. Let's see, S-H-M-A, there we go. And Shema means to listen. And it's sort of in the command form, listen, or you listen. So Shema. And the words are, listen up, Israel, the Lord is your God, the Lord is one. Blessed is the name, may it continue forever and ever. And the deeper resonance of it is, pay attention, all you who struggle or wrestle with reality. It is what it is. The Lord is our God. All that is, as opposed to, it's this, but I wish it was that. That's one I'm looking at. Well, let's move forward knowing that it is what it is. And all that is has an integrity to it. All that is, the light and the dark, there's an integrity to it. How do we turn it? And then the second part, blessed is the glorious name, may it continue forever and ever, is a meditation on the idea of what do we put out in the world? What do we call things? How do we manifest our experience in sound? How do we carve the silence that's around us with word and with song? How do we do that? Let it be a prayer that is worthy of being spoken or manifested eternally. So that's the Shema. That's what I'll be saying in Hebrew. Who's next? I think Dawood. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I will be reciting what's called Al-Fatiha, the opening. This is the opening chapter of the Quran, and the word Quran means that which is recited out loud, as we talked about those vibrations in our universe. And it draws attention to the Creator as under the name of Al-Rahman. And the word Rahma comes from the root of mercy. And it's the same word that is the root of that is womb. So it's a very, that sense of that which nourishes you and protects you unconditionally. And the reflection on this idea that whenever we need to be guided, we should return to that place of sanctuary and security and mercy, that we will be accountable then one day for how we keep our responsibility to this planet, to each other, with mercy, with love. And we beseech that source of all mercy and love to protect us, to guide us on a path that is straight, and to keep us from being consumed by anger and our own anger, and to keep us from faltering in our own lives or faltering the lives of others.
And I'll be singing the Lord's Prayer, which is, Jesus once said, when you pray like this. And I don't think he meant only pray like this, but here's some kinds of things that you could say. And I'll be singing it in Spanish, just to keep things interesting. We've actually recorded songs in at least 5 languages. Dawood, Billy, and I were trying to think. We've recorded in English, Spanish, Hebrew, Arabic, and Urdu. Was there one more? I don't remember. Anyway, so we will weave these 3 together and see how that comes out. And Ellie, thank you. We'll let you go off screen here.
All right, are we ready? Here we go. Shema
Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos,
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin.
Santificado sea tu nombre.
Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
Venga tu reino, hágase tu voluntad, así en la tierra como en el cielo.
Maliki Yawmiddin.
Danos hoy el pan de este día y perdona nuestras ofensas. Perdonamos a quienes nos ofenden. No nos dejes caer en tentación, mas líbranos del mal. Porque tuyo es el reino, el poder y la gloria por los siglos de los siglos.
What a beautiful prayer. What a beautiful way to end this event. There's lots of thank yous, lots of good vibration notes, and beautiful music, inspiring reflections. Love and music brings us together. So thank you. And may this prayer you just shared extend out into the universe and connect to us all in harmony and help us to empower us and strengthen us to continue the work of singing to the choir and also shouting it out loud and clear so that others may join us. So thank you all for coming today. I'm really glad so many of you took the time to be part of this. It will be online. You can watch it again and share it. And also the Multi-Faith and Spirituality Center at Concordia. This is our mission, to connect people, to engage students in particular, and the community, the university community and beyond in those questions. How do we keep working on peace? How do we find harmony in our complex world? And so today has really been an amazing opportunity to reflect on this. And I'm grateful for your time, for your gift, and for your presence. So thank you all, and be well.
Thank you so much, Ellie, for having this vision and making this happen. It's an honor to be with you. Blessings on your whole community there at Concordia and this wider community that gathered today. I want to especially thank Brigitte and Meg for their excellent conversation partnership here. And Jess, come here, Jess. Here's Jess. She's been doing tech all day. Thank you so much, Jess.
Yeah, and thanks to all these people that are just putting such good vibes in the world with this chat. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, anybody, but it's so sweet. It's just one goodness after another. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much for bringing us together, Ali, and may the ripples of this go far and wide. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's keep building more peace.
Train sounding loud and glide on the peace train. Ooh-ah-ee-ah. Come on the peace train. Come on. It's almost here now. Come on, the peace it's time train. The wait is done. Come on, come on, come on. It's almost here now. Come on, the peace it's time train. The wait is done. Come on, come on, come on. It's almost here now.